What is up, everybody? The Playbook is back, and it is our first edition of Tier List Tuesday. And boy, do we have a special one for you. We're talking about NFL quarterbacks today. I'm Lailend J, joined by,
Brody Carter.
and today we're doing a deep dive into the tier list of NFL quarterbacks. So we have a lot of things to go into today. First, I want to talk about the tier system, and Brody, you can chip in as well. We start with 1 to 5, so these are our upper echelon, top tier quarterbacks, guys that we find to be the best of the best. Pretty self-explanatory. 6 to 12. These are elite quarterbacks, obviously, still top some in the top 10 and then some just out of. Then 13 to 18, these are above average quarterbacks. These are our guys that are going to get the job done, but might be considered a little bit of a game manager. Then 19 to 24, these are our definition game managing average quarterbacks, kind of get the job done, a little underwhelming. Then we have our bottom of the bottom, and then obviously backups because this tier list had a lot of guys that probably shouldn't be ranked. And so just kind of bottom of the bottom. So Brody, I want you to talk about a little bit what makes a quarterback get into that 1 to 5, 6 to 12 category versus 13 to 18. What separates those guys?
Uh, I mean, the 1 to 5 is obviously like if they've been consistent, they've won anywhere from 10 to 17 games every single season. Their team continues to make the playoffs. They show that they are a number one quarterback. And because it's like you look at like the 13 to 18 quarterbacks, it's kind of like, yeah, you're going to go maybe 9 or like 8 and 9, 9 and 8, 10 and 7, but like they're not super consistent. They throw a lot of not a lot of interceptions, but like they have 31 touchdowns, but they have 18 interceptions. But like the guys that are at like the 1 through 5, they have a 10 to 2 INT rate or touchdown INT rate, or they have a 15 to 1, something stupid crazy like that. So that's really what separates them from 1 to 5 to 13 to 18.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you. I think that is like the best definition of like these guys right here versus the top of the top. And so I would agree with you. And starting off with pretty much a hot one, we have Kyler Murray. Now, this is a guy who was the number one overall pick not too long ago, obviously, a really good quarterback coming out of Oklahoma. Hasn't quite lived up to expectations on the NFL level, although we could be seeing a potential rebirth in Minnesota. But I think that Kyler Murray is a guy that we can't judge, can't give him a grade off potential, because I feel like we would agree potential, we'd put him like here, and if not here with potential. But based off what we've seen, I feel like it's only fair right now to put him in the 19 to 24 range, average quarterback who's put on like some great performances at times, but I feel like either 19 or 18 is where he ranks for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's super athletic. He's got the legs. I would put him at 18. Obviously far right on the 13 to 18 scale. I wouldn't say he's 19 because I don't think that there are 18 better quarterbacks than him. I think he is the 18th best quarterback in the NFL, and he was held
Yeah.
back in Arizona, obviously. And
Yeah,
I can't wait to see what he does under KOC, aka the quarterback whisperer.
absolutely. KOC has the potential to unlock some of that potential, but Kyler does still have to beat out JJ for the starting job, and we'll get into JJ later. But now we're talking about his Kyler's running mate in Arizona from a year ago, and still likely to be Arizona's starting quarterback if Carson Beck doesn't take the spot. We're talking about Jacoby Brissett. And Jacoby Brissett is the very definition of a backup, right? Game manager type guy. Last year came into Arizona and put up decent numbers. Honestly, like was not bad in terms of what the Cardinals where they were at. But I'm not a big Jacoby Brissett fan. Like I think he kind of does things good enough, but he's not very fun to watch. And he doesn't do anything very special. So I think it's only right to keep Jacoby Brissett at 25-32 at the top of that range, but I don't think he's um, very great to say the least.
Yeah, I do agree. I do like Jacoby Brissett as a quarterback. I think where he's gone, he's you know just obviously just been their quarterback. He was on the Browns, he's been on the Patriots, he's been obviously on the Cardinals, and I think really everywhere he's gone, they've done bad. But I don't think obviously it's his fault. But I would agree with you that he is in that 25 to 32 range.
Yep. And speaking of another quarterback, if you notice, we've got three back-to-back African American quarterbacks, and we're talking about the lefty, Michael Penix Jr. Who like it's hard to talk about Penix because we've seen flashes of potential. We've seen kind of him be pretty mediocre at times, and then of course last year getting hurt, which has been the story of his college career. If you're familiar with Michael Penix's college career, he spent a lot of time injured, so it's kind of hard to rank a guy like Penix. And I think like the right place the right place to put a guy like him would have to be like right here in the average range, just because we haven't really. I don't think he's bottom of the league by any metric, but I think we've struggled to see like consistent success from the guy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think we've seen too like we haven't seen that much from him. But obviously Kirk was there when he went there, and I think obviously his injuries are setting him back, but maybe give him this year or even next year, kind of see how he does. And I really do like what the Falcons are building on their offense.
Absolutely. And speaking of Kirk Cousins, here he is. Kirk's had a great NFL career by pretty much every metric. He's been in the league a long time, gotten paid a lot, and has some of the best stats of a quarterback of all time. Like seriously, obviously, maybe at his peak he would be here. In the last couple of years, he's been floating around here. Because I don't think he's here. I think he's better than the quarterbacks you're going to see in this category. But I think I'd put him right along with Penix, but for different reasons. That being that he's kind of just fading out to the end of his career, and that's kind of where we're at with Kirk Cousins. Next up, we have the one of the best quarterbacks in the league on the completely opposite scale. We're talking about Lamar Jackson. This is a stud. I mean, there's not much going into this decision. Lamar Jackson, two-time MVP, arguably should have been a third in 2024. Not seen as much playoff success as you would like, but this dude is an elite quarterback. He's beaten the narratives that he can't throw the ball down the field. Lamar's a total stud if you want to go into Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he can't really get over the hump in the playoffs, but every year they're consistently a playoff team. Unlike last year, he got hurt, but I do think he deserves to be in the 1 to 5 range.
Absolutely. Another 1 to 5 counterpart, Joshua Allen. Now, my belief is that he is better than Lamar Jackson. I would prefer Josh Allen over Lamar, but I want to hear your takes on that really quickly.
Yeah, I like Josh over Lamar. They're like if you rank it, I think he's 2 and Lamar is like he's 2A and Lamar's 2B. They're
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
they're
so.
kind of the same number. But yeah, I think Josh is over Lamar just because of he's had more success in the playoffs. He's been able to win some of those games. But
Yeah.
yeah, I like Josh over Lamar.
Yep. Yep. Josh Allen, obviously 2025 MVP. Um, just a stud. Like, there's not much we can say about this guy. He's one of the best in the business. Consistently puts up great numbers. Yeah, just total stud. Now entering the fray, Joe Burrow. And obviously, I did not mean to put Joe Burrow there. Joe Burrow, I think at his peak, he's here. I just think Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he's one of the best football IQs, and he's just elite quarterback by the true definition. But with just being out of the game consistently last year, I think it's only fair to put him here. I know this is more of a quarterback tier ranking. We're not basing this off of like last year in particular. This is just going into the season who are our top tier quarterbacks. And I think it's only fair to put Burrow just split in the middle of those guys, if not Lamar over him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's has kind of a better situation than Lamar does this year. And I think all of the pressure is on Joe Burrow this year is if he can, one, stay healthy, and two, if they can go far in the playoffs this year.
Yep. We got Joe Flacco here. We're going to throw him in the backup category, likely not to start next year. So we're just going to throw him there. Shedeur Sanders should start. If you're the Cleveland Browns, you're paying attention here, please start this guy. Because this is a guy with potential versus Deshaun Watson, who we know what he's going to be, and it's not good. So I think we should start Shedeur, but I think we both can agree had a rocky rookie season, still has a lot to prove. Shedeur Sanders goes in the 25-32 range.
I do agree with that.
Dylan Gabriel, we're going to throw him in the backup category, likely not to start. Kind of had his chance last year, was pretty mediocre. So I feel like he goes in the backups range. Next up, we're talking about Bryce Young, and this is an interesting one because if you would have asked me at the start of the season last year, I would have said 19 to 24, 25 to 32 range. You asked me in the middle of last season, I'm like, okay, he's probably still in the 19 to 24 range, but could be in the 18-ish. But then he blasted to end the season, had a beautiful end of the year, and it kind of leaves you wondering where exactly do we put Bryce Young? My personally believe is he's better than Kyler, and he's right in that range. We got two short kings in our 13-18.
Yeah, I do like what Dave Canales is doing in Carolina. I think Bryce Young will do better this year than he did last year. And yeah, I do kind of think I think with Bryce Young and Kyler Murray, it's the same thing with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. They're kind of like, 1A, 1B type, quarterbacks. I think they're very similar, but I would give the edge to Bryce Young because we've seen more from Bryce than we have with Kyler.
Yeah, and just like more recent success. Speaking of recent success, speaking of, we just did back-to-back Iceman-related themed ideas. So we're talking about the Iceman here in the NFL. We're talking about Mr. Clutch, Caleb Williams. I'm a USC fan, so I could talk all day about Caleb Williams. This dude is a stud. He can throw from any arm angle. He's got a great arm. And last year you saw that success. Still didn't get to 4,000 yards, which I think hinders him from being top 10, but I think he's right outside at the 12 category.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is 12. I don't think he cracks the top 10. I think you really could put I really think you could do Drake May, Bo Nix, and Caleb Williams at that 10, 11, 12 spot because, they've all been just fantastic coming out of that rookie class. And I do think Williams is third in that class. Obviously, even though he's drafted first, I think he is third. But yeah, I think placing him right there at 12 is great.
Yeah, and we'll get into Bo Nix here in a second. And I guess I'll just save my papers for then. Speaking of top quarterbacks here, this is the very definition of an elite quarterback, and I think he's proven that these last couple of years and throughout his career. We're talking about Dak Prescott. And for the slack this man gets, probably the most overhated quarterback in football. This is an elite passer. This is an elite quarterback. Obviously, lost a lot of that mobility after that ankle injury against the Giants a couple years ago. Hasn't really been as great of a runner, but still active. And far from a statue in the pocket. But this guy is like consistently right outside the top five, and has been for the last what 3-4 years. Consistently a top 10 quarterback, and I think like Dak Prescott, very good quarterback, very overrated.
Yeah, I as a Broncos fan in 2016, I did want Dakota Rain Prescott. I I do agree with you. I do think he is very overhated. I do think the Cowboys would have absolutely made the playoffs this year if that defense was not atrocious, because that offense was just firing. With C.D. Lamb, George Pickens, and Javonte Williams, I think that Dak is surrounded with a team that he can win, but he's just got to. He's kind of just like Joe Burrow. You have to have a good defense, or else you're just going to have a good quarterback, be really good on offense. Like, you're going to have really good offense, or your defense is just going to be terrible. But yeah, I really do like Dak Prescott at 6.
Yeah, I agree. Now joining the fray is Bo Nix. I don't mind Bo Nix. I know a lot of Chiefs fans, and I know a lot of people in the NFL. Really, the discourse around Bo Nix is that he's not as good. And for a lot of last year, the narrative was that Bo Nix was the piece holding them back. I think that was false. I think Bo Nix, out of has been he was like in coming into the year that they were all drafted, he was the most pro ready quarterback. He played so long in college. I do think my only worry with Bo Nix really is like in terms of development, how much further is he going to develop? Just because like he's been playing football for so long. The future is really what we're going to see from him. But I think he ranks obviously in the 6 to 12 range, if not at the very last 13, at the very least. But I'd put him 12 right now. I think he's behind Caleb Williams, just because I think what separates Caleb Williams and Bo Nix is the talent. I think while Bo Nix is a little bit more has a little bit more of a pro mind at this point in his career, I think Caleb Williams is a lot has the edge in talent, and that's exactly why I rank them where he is. But I think Bo Nix is a phenomenal quarterback, and I think Denver is going to be a contender for years to come with him at the helm.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
think
scared
a
of,
lot.
I'm not scared of the, whole ankle situation. There was a picture that was going around of like his ankle. That was Alex Smith from like, 5, 6 years ago. Uh, Me personally, I would put him above Caleb Williams. I do think that they kind of are both the same player, or like same players, but I will say, he kind of is inconsistent at times. Not like super, like not every single play he's inconsistent, but like at sometimes he is. And just for him to, adapt, he's had, I think, like every single year since high school, he's had a different play caller every single year. And when he went to Denver, obviously his rookie year and last year was Sean Payton calling plays, and now Davis Webb is going to call plays for Denver. I think Bo Nix will do. I think Davis Webb elevates that offense. I think he will use Bo more kind of on the ground game, saying, "Hey, you don't have to sit in the pocket so many times. You can, go up like uh, go up in the pocket, scramble, do whatever you want." But me personally, I have him above Caleb Williams, but I do agree that he is in that 6 to 12 range.
Yep. Next up on the tier list, this is a guy that goes right next to Dak Prescott. Jared Goff. And I think Jared Goff, this is a guy who quietly had one of the best years of his career last year, if you remember. Next up, we have Jared Goff. I feel like this is a guy that, right next to Dak Prescott, and like has been consistently really good. Last year, I think had one of his better years by far in his career, at least his most efficient. turned over the ball at a lower clip than he ever has in his career, and still kept up that 40 touchdown pace. A guy who's been consistently in MVP talks the last couple of years. Jared Goff is a phenomenal quarterback, and obviously Detroit on the cusp of greatness here. We're kind of waiting for them to break the glass ceiling, and that could potentially be this year. But I think Jared Goff can be the guy that gets them there.
Yeah, I like Jared Goff a lot. I think I do agree with you. They do need to, they've kind of sputtered in the playoffs the past couple of years. They haven't gotten past that playoff hump. But I really do like Jared Goff and what Dan Campbell has done to this Lions team.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Next up, we got an NFC North companion, um, Jordan Love here. And, like, again, Jordan Love's one of those wild cards where I feel like at times he's here, um, but then at times he's here. And it's kind of just like, depending on the day with Jordan Love, very inconsistent, and shown flashes of being a very competent quarterback, top of the league here. But I think it's only fair. He's better than these two guys for sure, but not consistently shown that he can be in the 12 to 6 range. I feel.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree with that. I think, like you said, he has shown like he is a proven quarterback, but sometimes he kind of does stupid stuff. Uh, but I do like Jordan Love a lot, and I think with this kind of better Packers team this year, I think he should be, especially with Tucker Kraft coming back. I think that I kind of think that hurt him last year. Once because he got, did he tears, was it ACL or Achilles?
Hmm.
It was, yeah, it was one of those two. But I do agree. I think he is at that top tier of 13, 18.
Yep. Next up, we have a guy who I think has the potential to be in this range. Probably more likely to be here than anything else. But we have not seen enough from Malik Willis as a starter to comfortably put him up there. But I think he has a lot of potential, and I think he's going to be good for Miami. Potentially earn a second contract and be on as a starter in this league. Showed flashes last year in Green Bay when Jordan Love got hurt, and has been a backup and learning the game for a couple years. And we're going to see what Malik Willis has got in the long term.
Yeah, I like putting Malik Willis there. I just think we have to, we haven't seen him do phenomenal on NFL teams, but I think we have to wait and see after the season to where we put him.
Yep. Next up, we got CJ Stroud, who, if you asked me 2 years ago, or last year, excuse me, he'd probably be here. He'd probably be in this range with these mixing around with these guys. Last year, it was abysmal. But I think I'm going to comfortably put him at the end of the 13 to 18 range. I just feel like probably better than Kyler at this point. I think Kyler really had a bad year. But CJ Stroud is a guy who has potential to be a top tier quarterback, but like at this point, has a lot to prove this upcoming season. And I think that's kind of where we're at with CJ Stroud.
Yeah. This year was just not good for him, but yeah, I agree. Kyler's not better than him, but he is better than Kyler, and I think he fits perfect where he is.
Yeah. Obviously, a 4 interception game in the playoffs is never good. So that's where we'll just leave that there. Next up, we have Daniel Jones, who last year showed probably he could hang around here for the rest of his uh, peak of his career, the rest of his prime. But just because he got injured at the end of the season, I think I'm going to stick Daniel Jones here because we hadn't seen a full season of him being a successful top tier or a mid tier quarterback. So I think I'm going to stick him in the game manager range for now. And depending on how he plays the next 2 years on this very expensive contract he got, we can reassess.
Yeah, I think he is higher than he has been. Like I would put him down in the Shadur and Jacoby Brissett when he was in New York, but him going to Indianapolis, he was really good last year, and I think right at 19 fits him.
Yep. Next, Big Tony, he'll be a backup. We could do a whole video, a what if video on Anthony Richardson and his potential. But not we have not seen that, and so it's hard. Trevor Lawrence, and we touched on this in our AFC South video that will come out this weekend, I believe, this Saturday. We touched on this a lot, and this is a guy who's like the very definition of streaky, and depending on the day, depending on the week, right? Like sometimes he's up here, sometimes he's here. Like you just like you in terms of production. And I think a happy medium is top of the 13 to 18 range. I think right now I'd take him over all of these guys. But when you get him in mixing with these guys, I feel like he would fall here. I think he's very
Yeah.
similar to Bo Nix. Like I think they remind me a lot of each other, other than the turnover thing, because Bo Nix doesn't really turn over the ball that much. Trevor Lawrence turns over the ball just a lot. So it kind of depends. I think they're right next to each other in that range.
Yeah. I do think that I do agree with you saying that he is Bo. I just think he's not like Bo because he doesn't turn it over and he can't really. He's more of a kind of a pocket. He's more of a pocket guy
Yeah.
than he can get out and scramble, but he does kind of stay in the pocket. And I do think him sitting at 13 is great.
I mean, look at those luscious locks, right? It's Trevor Lawrence.
For real.
Next up, we're talking about. I won't. I feel like it would be unfair for me to do this introduction. It would be considered bias. But this is a two-time Super Bowl champion, right? Two-time, three-time. I like three-time Super Bowl
Yeah, he
champion.
went back to back and then he beat the Niners.
Yep.
Yeah.
Three-time Super Bowl champion, three-time Super Bowl MVP, obviously NFL MVP, NFL AP Offensive Player of the Year. This is Patrick Mahomes. And so last couple of years, not been putting up the numbers that I think have become accustomed to. And I think the factor isn't really him. I don't think the issue's been him. I think it's been what's been around him and coaching. Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator, that's a disaster. Matt Nagy should never be offensive coordinator for another team again. And the fact that he's getting head coaching spots is a testament to this league. Because, dude, the Chiefs' offense is like, Patrick Mahomes should not be in a run-based offense. He's Patrick Mahomes. They should be passing the ball. And I think Kenneth Walker will do, kind of. We're gonna run the ball, but like the core of this offense is Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, this is the premier quarterback in the NFL at his peak. Like this, I mean, he's beaten all three of these guys in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, there's not much we can talk about Patrick Mahomes. It's very simple when it comes to him. This is a top quarterback, and we've seen that throughout the guy's career. And very intrigued to see what he does in 2026 with Eric Bieniemy returning, and Kenneth Walker, Emmett Johnson. So there's be some new developments here. But if you want to touch on your arch nemesis, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he hasn't lived up to what he was, back in 2019, 2020, 2021. He hasn't been putting up those insane numbers that he used to. And when I saw that the news that the Chiefs were firing Matt Nagy, I was like, that is great news for them. They should have never hired him in the first place, especially after the double doink incident. But I do think he is number one. I kind of like, especially last year, it was Josh Allen at number one, especially like later in the year, because I'm like, Mahomes is one, he's hurt, and two, they didn't really they didn't make the playoffs. So I had Josh Allen at one last year and then Mahomes at two. But yeah, I think going into this year, just because B enemy is back, I'll put Mahomes at one.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I think that last year and even the year before that, maybe Mahomes won. But I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, just overall. And I think like nobody impacts winning like Patrick Mahomes does. I think like this is a guy like he took last year's team to lost 2 games and he took them to the Super Bowl, and that was not a 2-loss 15-win team at all. You know what I'm saying? So that's Patrick Mahomes. Next up, we have a guy that maybe could uh, potentially crack the top five. I think that was ruined by the guy next to him, and I think we're going to put him right in between Prescott and Goff. I think those three are kind of interchangeable in where we would put them. At multiple times last year, I had Justin Herbert in my top five in terms of like in-season tier list. I think at times he was really good. Um, but kind of been the subject of not having an O line throughout his career and not having consistent play from his weapons. And so that's why I think we have to stick with the 6 to 12 range.
Yeah, I do think he's very overrated. I think a lot of people say that he is, oh, he's this guy, blah, 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 blah. But I do agree the O line has set him back. I would not say he is a top five quarterback in the NFL, uh, because we literally the top five are already the big four, and I think you could put Matthew Stafford up there too in number
Exactly.
five, like at number five. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
we'll
do kind of agree that Dak, Herbert, and Goff are interchangeable.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I think we stick. Like I said, like Stafford kind of snatched the chain essentially from these guys, right? Like last year, going into last year, I would have probably had Stafford here, Herbert here, maybe like something along those lines. But Stafford snatched the chain last year and was undoubtedly probably the best quarterback in football last year. Just what a season he had at his age to go out there, lead the league in passing yards, and I believe passing touchdowns as well, and win his first MVP at this age. Stafford's a great. Don't know how long we're going to have them, and we'll touch on that when we get down to his counterpart, Ty Simpson. But that's a little bit of foreshadowing. We'll get there when we can. So that's Matthew Stafford, and you touched on it. Like I feel like Stafford's just the very definition of five. I feel like these four kind of got the top four locked down. And unless like somebody like maybe like Caleb could crack there potentially in the future. Maybe if Bo Nix has a second level that we're not aware of, could get in there. But like I feel like at this, or maybe Dak, if he gets a 5,000 yard season next year, maybe he could stick himself in here. But I feel like these four got the top five locked. Um, Next up, we got a guy who like has the very definition of a roller coaster career. 2 years ago, probably would have been in 13 to 18 range. Last 3 years ago, definitely in the 13 to 18 range. Last year was abysmal for Geno Smith, and I can't comfortably put him with these guys. I think he's got to be the top of 25 to 32, but he was abysmal last year. It was bad to watch. He was a turnover machine, and so the Raiders, who've been plagued by quarterback issues, yeah, that's kind of where Geno's at.
Yeah, I agree. I I do agree with that. I think he is in that 25 to 32 range, and I would have agreed. Like when he was like his first year with Seattle, I think you could have put him up there with Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, but I think after what we saw last year, he deserves to be in 25 to 32.
Yep. Next up, we got Tua turn the ball over. Likely to be a backup in 2026, depending on Penix's recovery. I think that he escapes the 25 to 32 range slightly. And I'd put him like right next to Penix probably, just because I mean they're literally battling it out for a job anyway. Um, so I feel like yeah, that's kind of where we're at there.
Yeah, I agree with
Um,
that.
Next up, we got nine Nueve JJ McCarthy, shitty McCarthy as I like to call him because he's terrible. Look, I thought JJ coming in, and this is take is that aging like milk currently, but I said out of that elite 2024 draft class that JJ was going to be the most accomplished member. And shoot, maybe if Kyler ends up being the GOAT and they win a bunch of Super Bowls with JJ as a backup, maybe that could still work out. um, but I don't know. I feel like JJ he hasn't really gotten a fair shot. Obviously, he struggled last year, but that's kind of what to expect from a rookie. And now that they have Kyler, the clock's kind of ticking for this guy. If he doesn't win out the starting job, then I don't see him starting for a long time. And so, all that being said, I like him. I honestly do like him better than Gino, I think he played well to end the season. But I'm gonna have to stick him in the 32 rating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do think that JJ gets a lot more like hate than he gets. I mean, he's kind of like Shadurt last year. Obviously, he was worse than Shadurt, but like he's shown some flashes that hey, he can become a starting quarterback in the NFL. But I don't think. I think obviously Kyler wins over JJ.
yeah. Next up, we have what the fans say Drake May this what a stud. Taking the Patriots to the Super Bowl last year, had a rough playoff performance, but I feel like that's kind of granted with your first time being in the playoffs and your second year in the league. And so I like Drake May. I do. I'm going to stick him ahead of these two guys. Obviously, second in MVP last year. A lot to prove this year. That we're going to find out, does he really have that dog in him now that they have that really rough schedule? So, expectations definitely on Drake May to maintain this spot here in the food chain, but I think I can comfortably put him here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he is better than uh, Caleb and Bo.
Next up, we got Tyler Shuck. Nobody expected him to be as good as he was last year, and I think he earned a spot at the top of the 19 to 24 range. I think again, it's hard to really rate his performances because he didn't get a full season, and I think that it's not fair to put him on the same level as the 13 to 18 guys, but I think Shuck has some potential and could potentially be the long term starter in New Orleans.
Yeah, I really like Shuck, and I like what he did last year too.
Next up, we have the dartboard himself, Mr. CTE. If he was a quarterback, we have Jackson Dart, and I think he has 6 to 12 potential. I think he can be right in here. I think he reminds me of a little bit of a better version of Nix in terms of like running and throwing the ball. I think he made a lot of rookie mistakes last year, so that's why I'm going to put him right next to Shuck. But I like Jackson Dart. I think he has a lot of potential in the league.
Yeah, I really liked what Jackson Dart did last year, especially also with Cam Scadaboo. I really
Yeah.
liked both of them together. I think they are going to stay in New York for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that. Um, I know Mac Jones probably deserves his spot on the tier list, but like he doesn't have a job, so I can't give it to him. But I like Mac Jones, and I hope he gets another chance to start somewhere. Um, but next up, we're talking about probably the most pulverizing quarterback in football, Jalen Hurts. I feel like depending on who you talk to and when, you get a completely different answer on this. some people, I think, foolishly have him in this range. I think he is in this range here. I would put him like I don't. It's hard because like I don't know if I'd put him above the 24-3. But I think I have to because I guess these guys haven't had a proven success yet. Caleb obviously last year had a good year. All three of these guys had a good year. But Jalen Hurts, to his credit, has consistently been a good quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over much. He puts up a lot of touchdowns, um, and is a winner. And so like I feel like you can't discredit that from the guy. But I do under no circumstances think he was here. I don't even think after they won the Super Bowl he was here. Like a lot of people did. And so I put Jalen Hurts in this range because I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's as great as the masses tend to say.
I'm a Jalen Hurts glazer. I love Jalen Hurts. I do think that that Super Bowl was, obviously Saquon was the reason why, they were really good in that run game. Uh, Jalen, I think, and he showed that he can throw the football in that Super Bowl. He was super good, but I do agree. I don't think he's better than Dak, Herbert, or Goff. But I do agree he's shown more experience than May, Caleb, and Bo have. But yeah, I think right there is his perfect spot.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Next up, we have a guy who, for when we were growing up, he's probably here,
Yeah,
here. Like this, us growing up, he was one of our elite quarterbacks. Right with Stafford, kind of in that range. But now, not there anymore. I feel like I have to put him in the bottom of above average. He's better than Kyler. Um, but like,
I think he's better than Stroud too. I think you put him right in. I
yeah,
think you put him in front
yeah,
of
I do.
Stroud.
I feel like he's better than Stroud too. Yeah, I agree with you. But I think it's like a gap between these two. And we still have a lot of guys that are going to make it in that tier anyway. So I'm not
Yeah,
worried there. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of where big A Rod um, is at this point in his career, probably his last year in the league, barring. I don't know. Maybe he turns the clock back and becomes an MVP again, and then he probably play till he's 50. But I don't see that happening.
yeah.
Next up, we have the defending Super Bowl champion, and this is another thing that is very polarizing for some reason. And I don't know why. Um, Sorry, Seattle fans, he's definitely not here. I don't think he's better than any of these guys, and I don't think he. I wouldn't. I only person here. I think he could go in front of Knicks, but I think he's behind him. I think I don't know. Like I feel he reminds me a lot of Jalen Hurts, where like sustained success should put him here, um, and just bump these guys back. But then you could be like, oh, Drake May had a great year, so he should go here. He definitely performed better than these two last year, but like I don't know. I just feel like if we're gonna continue with the same success, I put him right next to Hurts because this is a guy in Sam Darnold who's performed the last 2 years. First 2 years he's had consistent good performances, and now a Super Bowl to add to that resume. I feel like he earned his spot right above the 2024-3. But I think at the end of this year, we could be talking about potentially all three of these guys moving here.
Yeah. I I think starting out his career, he would have been right where Malik Willis is, but his journey to becoming a Super Bowl winning quarterback, obviously last year with Minnesota, he was phenomenal with Minnesota last year, or yeah, last year. But this previous year with Seattle, he was he was perfect. He was completely perfect, and I do think it was stupid for the Vikings to get rid of him. But yeah, I now love Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I agree. And I know we called Dak Prescott the most hated quarterback, and I think we should. He's probably is. I think right next to that is Brock Purdy. And I struggle to kind of understand the hate. I know like people I don't think he's a game changer. I don't think but like I think at his peak he's right here with these guys. Last year he struggled a little bit, but I have to put him at the top of the above average category. I think that like Brock Purdy is a pretty good quarterback. Like I think Brock Purdy is a pretty darn good quarterback who can get the job done, and I like Brock Purdy personally.
Yeah, I I agree. Even me, I'm an Iowa fan, so when he played us at Iowa State, I'm pretty sure we've beat him every single year when he was at Iowa State. But Brock Purdy, phenomenal quarterback, and I really like what he has done in San Francisco.
Absolutely. Speaking of another guy who goes right at the top of the 13 to 18 category, I think him and Purdy and T Law for that matter are pretty interchangeable. But Baker Mayfield consistently now, he's probably he's a household name at this point. Number one overall pick, looked like a bust and has rebuilt his career to be one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I kind of hope he gets a Sam Darnold redemption arc and could potentially like win a Super Bowl with Tampa. That would be kind of cool. But right now, with their lack of playoff success with Baker, and I think last year obviously flaming out towards the end of the year, which was not really his fault, but they just did. I'd put them there. Put Baker.
Yeah, I again, he's kind of just like Sam Darnold. To start off his year, he should like when he was a rookie, he showed flashes, and then he goes to Carolina with Sam Darnold there. They kind of are both just like not good. Then he goes to the Rams, has that really good game, and then Tampa Bay signs him. And I think he's really elevated the Bucks. Beat he beat Jalen his first year in Tampa, and I really I mean it's you can't not like Baker Mayfield.
Yep, absolutely. And next up, I think deservingly going at the top of the average range, just because I think he's got above average potential. I think Cam Ward's going to be a beast. But I think he's definitely the best out of these guys. I don't think he's quite on this level yet. Now, if I was starting a franchise, I'd take him over all of these guys up until like maybe here.
Yeah,
But I think Cam Ward's going to be a beast, and we just have to kind of see that sustained success for him. Yeah.
yeah. Cam Ward is a dog. I can't wait to see what Tennessee does, and I love their new coaching staff with Sala and uh, Brian Dable. I love what they've done, and I love how they gave him, you know, guys to throw the ball to, and they added Carnell Tate. I Cam Ward is going to ball out in Tennessee.
Absolutely. Next up, we got the Jaden Daniels. Had one of the best rookie years of all time. Took that team to the conference championship, and last year spent most of his year hurt. So, but I think he's right here. I think he got a little bit more to prove that he's better than T Law. But he's definitely better than all these guys. Right of him.
Yeah,
I think Jaden Daniels has, after his rookie year, I would have threw him in here, but just because like now we have a gap, and obviously didn't do much last year. He's got to prove some things, and so I think putting him there is very comfortable. I think at the end of this year, he has potential to be right in here once again, and I think that's where we're at with Jaden Daniels.
yeah, I do agree. I kind of think he was kind of the same story with C.J. Stroud. Phenomenal rookie year, and then kind of fell off after his not like a huge fall off, but he got a little bit worse. Sophomore slumps. Those are a thing. But yeah, I think where he is right now, I think he could pass. I think he will pass T-Law, but I don't think he's going to pass, Purdy or Baker Mayfield, and probably in the next like 2 or 3 years.
Yep, I agree. Next up, we have The Rooks, Dante Moore obviously will be in next year's video
Yeah.
when we because he was not drafted. But these two boys, and obviously Beck and Aller were also drafted as well, but aren't not in the video. Fernando Mendoza definitely is at the top of the Rooks category. There's not much to say there. Heisman winner, best rookie quarterback available. Raiders took him. I think has a crap ton of potential. I think he's a winner. I think he's got that winning dog in him that we don't really talk about much as an NFL community. We really underrate that quality. I think he
Hey,
has
Leland,
it.
I'm sorry. I need to go to the bathroom. Like, I'm about to piss my pants, so I'll be right back.
All right.
Oh my gosh, it's coming out.
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44. Nina just built an app.
All right, I am back. So sorry.
You're good. We'll start with the Fernando Mendoza.
Okay. I think you just leave him there, and then just be like Fernando Mendoza, obviously. So.
Yeah, so Fernando Mendoza, obviously, he's going to go top of the rookie category. This is best rookie available. Raiders got the guy. Dog, not much, definitely the best rookie quarterback that's coming out of this class. And then right behind him is going to go his counterpart, Ty Simpson, who's got Stafford sweating a little bit in terms of are the Rams just going to kick Stafford out the door? Like what's happening here? But that I feel like is a perfect way for those two to go.
Yeah, I think Mendoza is going to thrive. I don't think he'll start in Vegas. I think they're going to lean on Kirk to start probably, 1 to 2, maybe even 3 games. And then with Ty Simpson, they're just going to let him sit behind Matthew Stafford. I absolutely loved him going to the Rams. Obviously, I hated where he was picked, but him going to the Rams is going to elevate him a lot. And I think learning under Matthew Stafford is great. And I think with Sean McVay, he should be, he might be where Cam Ward and Jackson Dart are next year. So
absolutely. And I think that I would have to agree with you. This is the Playbook's 2025 quarterback tier list, and I think this is just the right one to have. Definitely something I think we will be doing throughout the season is quarterback power rankings to go along with our team ones, and so throughout the season we'll be updating where these guys are at in terms of power rankings on the season, but. This is our quarterback tier list in terms of talent, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, I like it. I think we will probably see the 1 through 5 group stay the same this year, but obviously 6 to the 24, we might have a lot of shifting this next year, especially with teams changing and schedules and all that stuff. But yeah, I really, really like this list.
I will agree with you on that. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and cut this one off. Later tonight, we will be streaming the this will be the Avalanche. This is coming out on Tuesday. So later this night. Later that night, I will be streaming the Knicks game, Knicks and Cavaliers. I don't know if Brody's going to join me, but that will be something for you guys to tune into. But staying on the NFL topic, we have a lot of fun stuff coming up, a lot of fun videos and streams coming up, and a lot of fun things to talk about, and which should be a really fun season. So I'm excited. This was our 2026 quarterback tier list, and we're excited to see what's gonna look like this time next year. But I'm Lailend Duncan, joined by
Brody Carter.
And this is the Playbook signing off, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great night and see you at the stream.
Yes, see you guys.